can see that I will achieve, because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. So whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve, because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.
The views and opinions expressed by the host or presenter and by participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions of ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation, its shareholder, or its affiliates. The opinions of the on-air guests or participants are based upon information they consider reliable, but neither ZBC nor its shareholder nor its affiliates warrant their completeness or accuracy, and they should not be relied upon as such.
To my brethren kind and good, so I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, it is time to bid you good night, St. Kitts and Nevis, and bid good night to the entire Caribbean region. I also want to reach out and touch my Straight Talk family in the Kittitian and Nevisan diaspora who are on the World Wide Web, on your Facebook and YouTube, whichever social media to which you are connected. I know there are quite a lot of you in Asia. There are a lot of you in Africa. There are quite a lot of you in Europe, as well as a whole lot of you all over North America, right here in North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, and in some cases I can say good night, because one of such greetings is certainly applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And if you're joining me for the first time, I must inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely, but let's in the process continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we tried to raise the level of national consciousness. We tried to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you, my Straight Talk family, on yet another occasion. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, as I said, and I give God thanks to be able to communicate with you on yet another edition of Straight Talk. My Straight Talk family, I normally have structured the programs as you've recognized in most recent times, where I at least acknowledge the obituaries, and I do wish to extend condolences to all those families who are mourning the loss of loved ones. I won't be too specific tonight because I dealt with quite a few on Monday. Yes, I did. And someone sent me some advice about one lady, Netta. I did in fact recognize her passing on our last program, and I did in fact confirm with the individual who contacted me that I in fact referred to her, yes, a family of mine, as Netta from over there in the village, and she was interred yesterday, I think it was. We want her soul to rest in peace. I was trying to find she was referred to as Gwyneth. They called her Gwyneth Possible. I called her Netta. But may her soul rest in peace, and the entire family understand that death is a process. I tried to find the latest COVID update, as I normally bring you the COVID-19 situation. So that too, I'll have to revert sometime later in the program, because I'm certain there is a more up-to-date version of this report. So I may be the one behind. So I'm very cautious that I will give you outdated information. But the information that I have, it refers to yesterday's report, which shows the confirmed cases as 3. That's a good sign. They're going down, and the deaths still remain the same at 40. The vaccination rate is still hovering just over 82% of the second doses, and 77%, I think, of the first doses. But we'd still encourage you to get vaccinated, because you never know if another variant comes around. Again, you would have to be protected. You ought to be protected, I should say, and protected from being hospitalized, and of course protected from the worst case scenario, and that's going to the Springfield Cemetery, as we said. You know, over 100 years ago, around 1918, we remember that epidemic we had. We took care of the smallpox, the polio or the measles. But 100 years later, COVID is with us, and our situation is such that we really need to build resilience in the health sector. And I had a meeting today with the PAHO representatives. I made the point that from an infrastructural perspective, we are, because of still the rise in climate change, we have what we call rock revetment to protect our coastlines. And the rocks are laid in a way that they reduce the energy, they absorb, I should say, the energy of the waves that come packing at near 200 miles per hour now from these tropical storms. And so too we need what I call a health revetment, so we too can protect ourselves, our countries, and in a manner absorb the devastating effects from these pandemics, these diseases, and the spread of them. So, my Stray Dog family, let's not forget the need to protect ourselves nonetheless, although we hear the issues surrounding the mandating of masks and mandating of vaccinations and so on. It's about you. You need to protect yourselves. As we as well look at our observations in review, is that time of the program when we do some reflection on the past and establish what was accomplished, how have it helped us, and what has changed since, what can be expected next, and what have we learned, what new have we learned as a people. And following up on our observations and review, last week we spoke to the confrontation between a member of parliament and the police. Apparently, it's still under review, but it has taken what I call a new twist. Because my Stray Dog family, the response given by Commissioner of Police, Hilary Brandy, to a question raised at the Prime Minister's press conference last week, Thursday, I think it was, we recall the Commissioner responded this way.
The police force is responsible to maintain law and order in the Federation. And as you are aware, we're in a pandemic, and there's the COVID-19 Act that the police has asked to enforce. So as a result, officers were assigned to check on business premises to see that they are complying with the Act and the protocols. On the 8th of January, 3 officers visited the last club bar. As a result, an incident occurred. Police has investigated this matter, and the file has been submitted to the Director of Public Prosecution, who is the competent authority for these matters.
Yes, my Stray Dog family. As the Commissioner intimated, the file has been submitted, or was submitted, I should say, to the Director of Public Prosecutions, who is the competent authority, the authority that can prosecute or not prosecute. And as I said, it took a different turn because there is a release from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, a press release that came out today. At least I got eyes of it just today. And the press release reads, and I quote, The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, ODPP, can make recommendations to the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force and other law enforcement agencies to prosecute individuals, or if there is insufficient evidence to mount a viable prosecution, advise them accordingly. The RSKNFP nevertheless retains primacy of decision making in whether to arrest, charge, and place any matter before the court. The decision to charge for a criminal offense is part of the investigative process. The Majesty's Privy Council, in the case of the Commissioner of Police and Attorney General of Antigua versus Stedroy Benjamin, 2014 UK PC 8, made clear that the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP, cannot instruct the Commissioner of Police or his investigators not to institute criminal proceedings against an individual. However, the DPP could make such requests. In such instances, the police should act cautiously before deciding to reject such a request. The release continues, I quote, "The ODPP is not an investigative body and cannot instruct the police not to charge an individual. Any suggestion or belief that the DPP can prevent the police from arresting, charging, or placing anyone before the court is simply misconceived. As DPP, I am not the competent authority to decide whether the Honorable Lindsey Grant should be charged with obstruction, assault, and battery offenses. That is simply a matter for the police, and are offenses with which they charge daily without my input. There are some specific offenses where my written consent is required before the police can charge an individual. The allegations against the Honorable Lindsey Grant doesn't fall within those categories of offenses. In keeping with the ODPP's role to support the RSCNPF in their investigation of criminal offenses, today, in a written opinion, I have advised Commissioner of Police Mr. Hilroy Brandy on the merits of prosecution in the matter involving the Honorable Lindsey Grant and 3 police officers, which took place on January 8, 2022. It is now for the Commissioner of Police to decide whether to act upon my advice. It is and has always been within the powers of the police whether to charge Mr. Grant. It is not and was never a matter of my determination. And this release is signed by Valston M. Graham, Director of Public Prosecutions, dated today, February 17, 2022. So the questions arise: who is the competent authority to prosecute? According to Commissioner Brandy, the police has completed its investigation and submitted its file with the relevant charges to the Director of Public Prosecutions. That's our observation in review as it relates to the Member of Parliament and the apparent confrontation with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. Our final observation tonight relates to the good news, nonetheless, that the Team Unity Administration will soon embark on phase 3 of the badly needed rehabilitation of the Joseph N. France General Hospital. And this news came from the mouth of the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
I want now to turn attention to the health sector, and I am pleased to report that in 2022 we shall commence the build-out of phase 3 of the JNF General Hospital. This will be a significant investment of over $26 million, which will result in improvement in 12 service areas at our main hospital, including pathology, labs, a new psychiatric wing, a new central sterilization unit, central medical stores, kitchen, cafeteria, laundry, conference, and lecture halls. All these are contemplated as part of the overall budget of $26 million. This, of course, will take several months and perhaps will end up being a multi-year project, but it is significant that we shall start the phase build-out of phase 3 in 2022. The addition of these brand new facilities, plus the recruitment of medical specialists identified in our budget for 2022.
Yes, good news for the health sector as it relates to the rehabilitation of the Joseph N. France General Hospital. We've heard so many bad things about the JNF, but the Team Unity Administration has a leader who listens and takes action on the basis of the advice from the people whom he served. Tonight, nonetheless, my Straight Talk family, I want to quickly and I want to focus on what I call political leadership. And in the process, I wish to state that there's an overflow, there's a plethora of ambitious political leaders all around the world. And I dare say, even in my federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. But unfortunately, many of them match, or there are very few matchups to the traits of good leadership. In fact, many of them appear to be severely lacking in some of the most essential qualities of a good leader, such as integrity and accountability. We can think about that. And it's no coincidence that whenever you hear the word politician, when you hear politician, it tends to derive negative connotations. You see what's happening, even as we speak. But experience would tell us that there's only a handful of leaders that comes near to the principles of leadership and demonstrate strong indicators of a successful leader. And I'm speaking globally. But specific to St. Kitts and Nevis, we have perfected what I call the art of, or the art of what I call leadership politics, I should say, going back to our late and revered and first national hero, Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw. Bradshaw served our federation, our country, for 25 years, until 1975, when he died and went to the great beyond. But we must confess, when we reflect, no matter what you say or you want to say or that has been said about Robert Bradshaw, he was a popular leader. Bradshaw led well. After Bradshaw died in 1975, it should be 78. If I said 75, take that back. I'm sorry. In 1978. After Bradshaw died in 1978, there was a lull or wrangle, whatever you want to call it, between the then leaders, the Labour Party, Southwell, C.A. Paul Southwell, who automatically assumed leadership as back then the Premier of St. Kitts and Nevis, and he suddenly died as well in 1979. Limor, the late Limor, Lee Llewellyn Moore, in fact, he then assumed leadership until 1980. Without convening Parliament, he went to the polls, and that caused the demise of the Labour Party. But between 1980 and 1995 came a leader called Kennedy Alphonse Simmons, now Sir Kennedy Alphonse Simmons, or His Excellency Sir Kennedy Alphonse Simmons, who is our only living national hero. And likewise, no matter what you want to say about Sir Kennedy, he too became a very popular leader between 1980 and 1985. Where he went wrong, we're not going to discuss that tonight, but he was a popular leader that led his party into government and maintained office for 50 years. After Simmons came a Dr. Denzil Llewellyn Douglas, the godson of Robert Bradshaw. And so too, no matter what we want to say or have said about Denzil Douglas, he too was a popular leader. And he led the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party for 20 years, 20 successive years. Again, where did he go wrong? That's not what are we going to discuss tonight. But he too, Denzil Llewellyn Douglas, was a very popular leader, and some may say still is. But after 2015 came another leader named Timothy Sylvester Harris, Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris. And for the last 7 years, he too, like Bradshaw, like Simmons, like Douglas, is a very popular leader. And I'm making the point, all parties in government that maintained, I don't want to say power, but maintained office, I should say, for a time, had popular leaders in this country. So the point I want to make as well is that political leaders are vital. They determine the allocation of authority, portfolios, and money through governmental policies. They establish partnerships with other stakeholders and make decisions that can have a major effect on the nation's well-being and all of its citizens and residents. I submit that political leadership requires a leader to focus on a country's long-term betterment above and beyond any short-term personal gains. Strong political leadership requires a mixture of charm and honesty and the capacity to evaluate a circumstance and make a judgment based on what will be better for the majority of the people that you lead. And I submit today we have what we call a partyless democracy. Yes, I've fabricated that, the partyless democracy. It's less about party, is what I mean, and more about leadership. So there's a decreasing importance for partisanship in structuring the choice of voters. Voters don't care about party. They care about the leadership that lead the men in a party. And what's happening now? Most are asking for a coalition or an alliance of parties. Political leaders are central in contemporary politics. Apart from steering their respective parties, they shape political communication, and leaders, good leaders, strongly influence political or public opinion. Studies have shown that one of the key drivers of party choice is democratic elections in voter assessments of the political leader or leaders running for election. But have leaders become more important in voters' minds? Or have they always been relevant? Is the question I want us to consider. But prominent leaders are certainly not a product of the 21st century. They have been, if you look at the studies of the personalization of politics, have long struggled to determine whether the personalization of voting behavior corresponds to a long-term process of its leaders, or if leaders are as important today as they have ever been. My Straight Dog family, I submit again that we now have a partyless democracy. It's less about the party and more about the leadership. That's my story, and I am not going to change it. But I want to ask you a few questions tonight, my Straight Dog family, about our leadership. And we've had testimonies about our current leader. There's one who said this, for example, my Straight Dog family, about our current leader.
This is Sir Dr. Elvis. I am very proud of the Prime Minister for his strength, for the challenges that he faces and the things that he getting done. When I look at him, I give him not 5 months, I want to give him 10 years as the leader of the country. When I look back and the things that I see done in the country, the whole island may know done in one term. Not from 1980 to now. Nobody do Island Main Road until 20 years after. Whole Island Main Road done. Bus terminal. Say he told me now. Put him in battle. I think he deserves some credit. And all you're getting in the politics in saying it is fighting down, fighting down. I am not one who well loved, but I must be jacket before then. And I want to say that the Prime Minister is strong. And I think the Lord will bless him more.
And that's testimony coming from a voter. And when we look, in addition to the infrastructure development, what about our safety and our security?
Eligibility. Turning now to the issue of the safety and security of our nation, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis continue to enjoy a relatively high level of peace and security under the Team Unity administration. Indeed, we have seen a marked reduction in homicides, which have fallen dramatically from a record high of 35 in 2011 to a low of 10 in 2020. In 2021, the year just ended, we had 3 homicides more than in 2020. The police aims to reduce this figure to single digits in the near future through intelligence-led proactive policing and improved community policing. The successful build-out of programs in support of our alternative lifestyle pathway program, the Explorers Club, and better utilization of resources such as our CCTV monitoring system and forensic lab will complement our efforts in sustaining reductions in major crimes.
And yes, so impactful was reduction when we reflect on where we came from in terms of crime. And this caller said she goes to bed with her door open.
I want to take time out and commend my Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris. Dr. Timothy Harris, I want to congratulate him for a job well done for all these years, leading the Team Unity ship. Prime Minister Harris, hold the fort and stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, because you are a God-fearing man, and the Lord loves you and you love the Lord, and he will see you through. Once again, I want to say to you, Prime Minister Harris, that I am home here and my door are open. Thank God for the peace initiative that I can in my house and sleep with my door open. And thank you for all what you are doing for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. May God bless you, sir. Have a pleasant good night and get home safe. Love you, PM, to the moon and back. Good night.
Wow. Would you sleep with your door open? Things have improved so much. The crime is up yesterday. Well, that's a good sign by Straight Dog family. So tonight I ask the questions: what makes a good political leader? Is it important? Is honesty and integrity important? We ask ourselves. Should leaders delegate effectively? When you think of the press conferences, you don't find a leader answering every single question, but the leader delegates to his team. If it's on education, he delegates to his Minister of Education, and so on. But is our leader a man with vision, the current leader that is, a man with vision and purpose? When we reflect on the leaders we've had, do you agree that it's all about leadership? Leadership politics, we call it. less about party and more about politics. That's my story, I say again, and I am not going to change it. But I'll open the lines at 17 before the 9 o'clock hour. I'll entertain your calls. I'll also entertain your emails. Just for those who send emails, I am extremely strict when it comes to these emails. And the days when I just read them, I am adding more scrutiny to the content of your email. So let's keep the level up, even in your cause as well. I always implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to use our time efficiently. There are some people who want to talk forever, and I don't have much control on my phone, so they get away. But I will implore you as well, to let us be guided by the rules of brevity. 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes must be adequate time to make your points. If you come back in, fine. You don't have control over that. But let's ensure that the things that you say and do will be beneficial to all concerned. Let us be fair to all concerned. And in the process of saying and doing those things, let us, my Straight Dog family, strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. We're talking leadership tonight. We're talking about good leaders. We go to the lines at 15 before the 9 o'clock hour and say, caller, you're live.
Fine. You don't have control.
Hello, caller. Are you there, caller?
Hello?
Yes, you're live.
Okay. Good night, Brother Patches.
Good night, my brother.
Okay. I have two issues apart from the topic tonight. And
Yeah, but I'm going to entertain you. Please. Are you hear me?
Yes, I'm
Can you
hearing
hear
you.
me, caller? I like to be flexible, right? If you are going to raise issues alternative to my topic tonight, I will only give you 15 seconds for each issue. The topic tonight we are speaking about is leadership in St. Kitts and Nevis. Can you agree to that?
Yeah, I agree to that. I will stick with that.
Thank you very much. You may proceed.
Okay. First of all, leadership matters anywhere. And I have discovered several issues that is a problem here in the Federation. But I'm going to more elaborate on St. Kitts. Now, the people between both parties that is popular are divided. And if leadership matters, and if you are a true leader and need to continue to be a great leader, you have to control your flock. And the thing is, why can't all leaders of whatever party is in existence and yet to come call out their flocks and teach them discipline so that there could be peace, because we are all humans? I think both leaders between the Labour Party and the Unity Party should go on public radio to talk to its people. Election is only one day. But why people are so divided? Why people have to be so hatred to each other? Election only one day. We got to love each other in respect to you make your choice. But some people are not pleased with the choice their brother makes, their sister makes. But leadership matters. Talk to each of your flocks. on a one public broadcasting, you can't go on like that because I'm seeing division. Division like crazy. People not talking to me because I am staying with someone who vote against their party. They're not talking to me. I am accustomed to say good morning to each and every one. But a particular person, I thought he didn't hear me, and I did it 3 times. And from what I've heard, as long as you live and you enter into this gate, you are an opposition. Okay? But leadership matters. And I know it's political. So, from that one example, I can confess, as a matter of fact, it's 2. You got to talk to your people. And leaders are not there to see what their flocks are doing. But there will be complaint. Okay? And I'm complaining. Unity Party need to speak to the most important parties surround the Prime Minister. And so do the Labour Party. Okay? I've got caught up into a situation where I speak to anyone, but not everyone is pleased. So I, as an individual, complaining about that is what I'm seeing, and I have boots on the ground. But like I say, I have other issues. I will yield for someone else to speak. So.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Thank you, Honorable Patrick Liburd. And I want to thank the gentleman to yielding to me. I would like to say, after listening to his conversation, you have sheep and some of them have mange in it. So you will always have those kind of problems. Now, Patrick, I was listening to ZZ today, and they were talking about incest, right? Like, well, when a man molests his daughters, like I have 3 daughters and son, but my daughter could come and sit down in front of me and say, well, look, I don't have to be scared because my father ain't gonna molest me. I want to know what the police are doing with those kind of situations, because the police them had the show. Instead of going, when the people make a report, say the father troubled them, they got to talk to the father and get a perfume, a gold chain, a watch.
Caller.
Yes, sir.
Caller, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I got to do with leadership tonight?
Well, what that got to be leadership begin at home?
No, but
leadership begin at home, Patrick.
Yeah, but you tell me about incest and so on, and nothing to do with my topic tonight. What about incest? Tell us about good leadership. The guy.
I don't have no problem with leadership. You know where I stand. I said it up to the other night. The best leader think it's ever had in my lifetime, which I'm 75 years, is the Honorable Timothy Harris, and nobody can replace him right now. Okay? So don't worry about the incest. The incest starts at home. And if you want to lead your children them in the right direction, do not molest them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the People's King. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, your line. Yes, caller?
Greetings in the name of our great African ancestors, especially the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and Queen Nzinga. A blessed evening, my beloved African brother. How are you and your family?
Blessed evening, my brother. We are peaceful. You and yours?
Good, man. The good. I'm good, and the clan is good, beloved. Now, beloved, talking about leadership. You got leadership, and then there is misleadership. Let me start with Robert Bradshaw. Brother, if Robert Bradshaw didn't bring that reign of terror against his political opponents and the Rastafari movement, Robert Bradshaw will go down as one of the greatest leaders in the entire Caribbean, beloved. Not just Robert Bradshaw, Bird in Antigua, the father, Bramble, Eric Williams, Barrow in Barbados, but let me deal with St. Kitts Nevis. So, That for me, the reign of terror on your own people. You fought against Caucasian oppression in the labor movement. And then you come and dish out some of them same oppression on your own people. No, brother. Robert Bradshaw, that's a no-no for me. Okay, let me deal with Mr. Southwell. It didn't last long. I think, beloved, Mr. Southwell will become a good leader, but he didn't last long enough his demise. Oh, Limor, one of the worst, total dictator, just like Bradshaw. Me deal with Dr. Simmons. Dr. Simmons, very compassionate man, loving, caring. I mean, he had his mistakes. We'll deal with that another time. But, so I say Dr. Simmons, so far, being the best leader St. Kitts and Nevis have ever seen. This ain't got nothing to do with politics because I supported Palm for 52 years. The man has shown and the man has lived up to good leadership. The guy from St. Paul's, total disgrace, misleader to the core. So when we are talking about leadership, he shouldn't even be mentioned here anymore. Let me deal with Dr. Harris. Come to Dr. Harris, beloved. Book I've written, I've not finished on Dr. Harris. What I could say, he's showing some good leadership traits. But I want to see at the end of the day, beloved brother, where that goes. What I can say about him when it comes to fiscal management, brother, this brother, Dr. Harris, is one of the best fiscal manager on this planet, beloved. That I could say with him. We can see when he was on the other side, and he continues. Look at the great leadership when it comes to fiscal management. But brother, let me talk about leadership, political leadership in this aspect. Brother, you must, a great leader must be loving, caring, compassionate, willing to lift up his or her people and his or her country, and listen to ordinary people who have the greatest ideas, beloved, and be humble, and you got to always be alert at what is going on. And if your ministers them are not doing the right thing, brother, don't be a good leader. Will not be afraid in the first instance to talk to them. And if he or she continue, they fire them from the cabinet. A good leader must be strong. When I say strong, not going to bullyrag people and them things, brother. You got to take good, strong stance in ordinary situation. And when they go and get rough and tough, you must be decisive, beloved. You can't think, oh, because you're the little thing, and no, man. And it can't be no quick fix that you do it in 2 years, 4 years. What? I know some more leaders are more brilliant than others. But you got to watch the pattern. Some people start off good. But brother, in the middle of the road, down in the road, beloved, they take a 180 and they become, because they believe that now they have political power and authority, they believe no, they're not accountable to anyone. A great leader must be accountable and must be able to say when he or she is wrong and apologize to the people. That not make you less of a man or less of a woman. No. So my beloved brother, in closing, a good leader, a lot of things that I just mentioned and more. I don't have a monopoly on anything, beloved. So I know when the other brothers and sisters call in, they can add on that, beloved brother. Brother, thanks again for hearing me. Keep up the great works. Pan-Africanism will perish. One love, my beloved brother.
Yes, one of my brother, forgetting that a leader must be able to control his or her flock. You know, I interpret that he must be able to convince people to follow you and convince those who follow you. You must be strong, decisive, according to that caller, and other traits that becoming a good leader. We look at Bradshaw, we look at Simmons, we look at Douglas, and we look at looking at Harris. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, it's now 1 before 9 o'clock. I want to thank you for holding your live.
I did.
Yes, my brother, John.
A Bible man.
The Bible man, yes. How are you?
I'm fine. Now, I am reading from First Timothy chapter 2. And here we say here, I sought this, exhort therefore, first for supplication, prayer, make intercession, giving thanks, and make for all men, for kings, for all that are in authority, that we may lead a peaceful life in all godliness and honesty, for this is good and acceptable in the sight of God. Number 4, who have all men to be saved and come unto the knowledge of the truth. That is, I ain't gonna further than there. When we pray for the leaders then, we will enjoy a good life and a peaceful life. I am not going to take up no more time. So thank you, Mr. Patrick. Have a pleasant night.
Have a pleasant night as well, the Bible man. Thanks for your input. And the world there's an overflow of ambitious leaders, and that I mean political leaders in the world. Sadly, very few match up to the traits of good leadership. Let's go back to the line. Caller, you're live.
Me on?
Yes, you're live.
Okay, good evening, Patches. And good evening to all the listeners, Jim. But I have to call out some great women, leaders. They are leaders, warrior leaders. Mrs. Sylvine Henry, Jacqueline, Alice, Dumpling, and Janet. Those are leaders in the form of speaking righteousness and condemning what is wrong. Now let me go for the political leaders now. From way back, no man on earth has done 100% good and right. But most of them, they have done at least 85 to 90% right. So we all are human, and we all will make mistakes sometimes. Mr. Bradshaw did well as a leader. Then come Mr. Southwell, did well. Then Mr. Limo did well. Whatever percentage it is, those who uphold righteousness will see it. Then come Dr. Simmons, he did well. Then come Dr. Douglas, he did well. Now come Dr. Harris, the Prime Minister, he did well, and he's doing well. And he will continue to do well, because it's the divine intervention put him there as a leader. Now comparison. When the COVID came to our federation in 2019, We were told to stay 6 feet apart from each other and always have our nose and our mouth covered with a mask in public places, and especially when you're close up to people speaking. 2019 Labor Day, March, when they had the Labor Day, when nobody could have gone on the street to march, Dr. Harris, as a leader, he exercised his leadership skills. He did not encourage his crowd, or his supporters of Team Unity to bundle up in any big crowd and go celebrate nothing. But down St. Paul's, where Dr. Douglas, the ex-leader, he had a jam session down there in the road. That is what you call bad leadership. In spite of he know that nobody was supposed to close up and all of that, he still had the prancing down there and he was jamming up. And where was the leadership of the Commissioner of Police to send police down there and tell them, look, break up that? That was where a leadership of a police, Commissioner of Police supposed to come in, but that never happened. But now look at it, what happened up Boardwalk in Mr. Grant King as a minister. A crowd of people in there, and apparently, a lot of them never had on a mask, they wasn't following the protocol. Well, if police went in there to tell them, no, listen, you all have to follow the protocol, otherwise X, Y, Z will happen. Well, the police did the work. So if they're going to go up there and shut down that, they should have shut down St. Paul when they were jamming. So there is the comparison of leaders. You got to lead from yourself first, and then you go out and you call your children, and you lead your children them on the straight path. If you cannot lead your child in your house, how could any political leader lead their supporters them and tell them, listen, all of you, when you see that person over there, call out to them and say good morning, or go straight. It can't happen. It's human we are. So when that caller going to come on and say about the two leaders need to do this and do that, brother, get your facts right and good. You can't, no one man could control no crowd or nobody. None. Jesus could have done it when he was on earth, but he didn't have to go there, call everybody and tell them, look, this and that. He laid out his rules and regulations for everybody to follow. And after that, he will deal with us. Patches, I will come back. I got more to say. Like you said, 2 minutes and a half or whatever it is. Thank you for this little time. I hope I get back in to say something else. Dr. Harris is leading the country good, country running good.
And I think we need to put into context as well. The four leaders, or all the political leaders we spoke to, none except Dr. Harris had to face a pandemic or to lead during a pandemic. A pandemic which brought the entire world to a virtual halt. And he did well.
COVID-19, of course, has negatively impacted many, but we are getting back on track. I don't think any one of us foresaw COVID-19 and the damage it would do or the uncertainty that it would create.
You hear him?
It has been a tough 2 years with challenges we never expected. The good news, however, is that the leadership and resilience of St. Kitts and Nevis stood out. And we as a people managed COVID-19 very well, notwithstanding our small size and fragile health system and economy. My government demonstrated leadership and resilience by delivering 3 stimulus packages in 2020, in 2021, and now in 2022, we are implementing our 3rd round of stimulus packages.
The man is great. The man is the greatest until God puts somebody's deal.
9 o'clock.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll be back. Good night, Dr. Elvis.
Are you there, caller? Okay, we see him. So, boss, that call. Let's go back to the lines. See if you got this call. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Patrick. How are you this evening, sir?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
Oh, great. You have the greatest show in the Caribbean, where you're going to destroy it. When you pick one headline and have it thing for a whole night. See, one of your smartest callers is Rock. Rock is, he might not be into college, but he's one of the smartest individuals you have in thinking. He go down and they say another story. Because the country, we're too smaller people to just pick one topic and he think for the night. I hope it's just maybe once or twice a week, but not every night, or you're going to destroy your show. No, as you know, so I wasn't going to call tonight because I'm not no one topic man, but it's okay. Southwell was the greatest leader we had. And why I say that is because, and he was a so-called foreigner. And why I said that about Southwell? Because he brought the people together. So it was not warlike. Thatcher was a proud tactician, but he's dictatorial. But he was also a great leader. I hear these guys, some of these cretins from the so-called labor mafia, always talking about Southwell and Thatcher legacy. What legacy did they have? What legacy they had? Pushing drugs to America, murder, killing? No. Simmons was a business guy with the business. That's when the economy start moving. So Simmons is up there. But you got to remember, Billy Herbert was the king behind the throne with Simmons. But Simmons did a good job also. But the one thing he did bad is with the Constitution, that 113. Our Constitution was born with discrimination, is it? How could one island have 113, the smallest island with a quarter of the people, but the other country can't think? This is the dog wagging, this is the tail wagging the dog. So Southwell going to go on because he brought the people together. Harris is going to go on as another great leader because he's a compassionate individual. He cares for people and he's a good manager. And this is very important. So Harris the only thing I have, and I can't blame Harris alone. You have to blame everybody, frankly, and everybody, for not bringing the thing to good governance, public. They have to be done. They must be done. But these are the good leaders. Harris can go on as a great leader, but he has to top it. And they need to move that committee from up there in the back of the Lil Warning. Bring it down on 4th Street so people can see all the corruption. Douglas is going to go on as the worst so-called leader in Sinkits, okay? He's one of the reasons why my life was destroyed, okay? He put up all the thieving monkeys around him and they destroy Sinkits, thieving from petitions. He's going to go on and do what, and like Vinci said, he was doing to some maybe Grant looked and see what he was doing. Look, I mean, he was doing St. Paul doing, nobody touched him. He was doing what he wanted. Nobody touched him. So maybe Grant look and see what he did, you know what I'm saying? And anybody who supports Douglas is a low life, has no respect for themselves. And the guy coming ahead for that label, Douglas number 2.2, you all put that man in there, you finish with, finally. But Harris stood up as a man. Harris could have sit there and go along with everything and get his pen. No, he wanted to make a change. Actually, I gave a guy a ride sometime last year. He was hitching a ride. And the first time he come in the car, he put a newspaper. He said, you know, I taught Dr. Harris in Keyon High School. He was very smart. And he's a guy I used to walk with, but he'd walk quietly around town now with a bag. And he told me Dr. Harris was very smart. And Dr. Harris always nobody, but he was very smart. He said, I taught him in, Keyon. But Patrick, I could say more. But I told you who are there. Right? Thatcher was a proud and he was a good leader, a little dictatorial. But he made us be proud about ourselves, unlike Douglas. Southwell was the best leader we had. What's his name? Simmons was okay too, but like I said, Billy was the king behind the throne. But Simmons messed up with the Constitution. In most countries, he would have been sent to the firing squad, including America. Okay? But Dr. Harris could be a great leader. I was going to say he only should get 2 points, but I think we can just have to give him the 3rd term, and after that, we cut everything off. But the man is a good man, just like I said with the COVID. He has been on the ball. And now this thing with TDC, you all have to make, things must be made right with those people, okay? TDC panic and they lay off these people. You have to pay those people and we hire them or whatever they want, okay? But it's up there, to me, is Southwell, what's his name? the guy, Simmons, Salwell, Simmons, and Vaxer. But Salwell is one of the best because he brought our people together. Okay, Patrick, but that one topic stuff ain't gonna do it. Have a good evening, brother.
Have a good evening, my dear brother. Well said. We have to keep focused. Let's go back to the lines, caller. Political leadership requires a leader to focus on the country's long-term betterment, above and beyond short-term personal gains. Caller, thank you for holding your line.
I must know. Yeah. So it's how Labour can dig out. And Dr. Palmer getting dig out to community and the backtrack. And looking at the people they need to pay who the government for the turn way. Because government is saying that they're not qualified to get no several pay and but they work all them years. So all the firm them are pay to pay the people some money. So they got to pay to pay the children to feed and everything. And looking at the country.
My good Labour friends seem to be in a foxhole. We do apologize for the quality of that call. I trust you will get out at the foxhole and get back in so we can hear you. I want the whole world to hear you, my dear sister Casilda. Caller, you're live.
That is good night.
Mr. Politics, good
yes,
night.
Sir. I try my best. I try my best to get tonight. Try. Anyway, over evening. At this first, I want to thank God for life. Thank God for the Federation of St. Nevis. Thank God for a unity government who right now is leading this country and doing well for the people of the Federation. And particularly on leadership matters, always leadership matters, in any political party, right throughout the world. When you got a great leader, doing well for the people, doing well for the country, that leader, nobody supposed to come at about they want change of this leader or whatever. Because he's doing great, he's doing well. Whether you in the party or in the government with him as a cabinet member or whatever, and the man is doing well, you know the man continue the leadership to move the country forward. Any lackness, you say, well, no, you're going to step aside, you know. Anyway, Patches, I don't know how we're going to end up to be. Because you have a rumor that you got some people in this country want to destroy the leadership of Dr. Timothy Harris and his cabinet. And I don't believe he's going to get work. They try something today to fail because they said I had a march. And the march finished before it started. You understand? Because when people grudge and envious, bad-minded, and don't let poor people, that is the way the situation got to be, you know. Because that one of them a company where they are abuse funds, both smoke $1 million, because both this, that. Why he don't contribute something towards the country? Contribute something towards the infirmary? Contribute something towards the task force? Some of these people, you encourage and all these things. But they jump on the way, they just try to get on the leader. And the leader is doing well. But what is, as we always say, Sinkit is 98% literate. And I do not believe the people going to grab for the ignorance for the preaching out there. Some of them know waste of time in other country. Coming here everybody protesting. Protesting what? Protesting on people looking after? Protesting on people that is care? Health care, medical care, whatever care. The man got a heart for people in this country. Dr. Simmons has done his best for 15 years. Douglas tried his best. But what? He failed. He failed because the people and the politically ignorant and all feel that they forgot in there. That's why you're not touching. I always want to start this team unity, you know, because team unity has changed the blind culture of politics in my life. I don't care what people say. I start going on this party like this. He ain't working. He ain't work for a lot of us. A lot of people get destroyed back in the 70s. People got to migrate for the country, let the country go. Because of bad leadership. And because you ain't working for this political party, or you ain't joining a union, you cannot get a job. But Dr. House is part of that organization. And Dr. House come and change things. Look at the roofing program. The roofing program, each and everyone gets the roof fixed. Each and everyone gets the roof fixed patches. So what do they want? What do they want this man to do? This man got a heart of Christ. He man got a Christ heart. And we got to applaud him for what he has done to this country. That is, if I get Dr. One to put the Federation of St. Nevis, and God bless.
Thank you very much. In the event you have just joined us, we are looking at leadership in our St. Kitts and Nevis. And I believe, as I said from the onset, that we have perfected the art of leadership politics, going back to Bradshaw, coming up to Southwell, Limor, Simmons, Douglas, and now Harris. And we are reflecting because the world is brimming with ambitious political leaders, but sadly, few match up to the traits or with the traits of good leadership. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Good evening to you, Minister Liburd.
Good evening, my brother.
And good evening to those in the audience right across the planet. And I want to say that your topic is very typical right now. And I'm going to be brief because when you look at the situation, and I personally, I think Dr. Harris is the leader that has proven himself in recent times in this country here. The reason why I'm saying that, he has proven himself after the 2016 election with the departure of those people who were for PLP. And we went and we had a convention in 2017 or 2016, somewhere around there, the first convention. And after that, there was no looking back. I congratulate Timothy Harris on that move there. That was something in the departure of those people, Dwyer and Sam and all of them. I remember that, and that's something I will never forget. And that convention, we never look back at, we built on that year. And today, look at PLP, because with 4 or 5 seats in the parliament today. So I congratulate him. And I congratulate him more and more on the leadership in terms of the transformation and the crime situation in the country. That is very important that we cannot, that's something that many people could have never get a grasp on. And Dr. Harris put the people them together, and the right people them, the right police officers them, and the right individuals to bring that situation under control. And we have to remember that here. It's very important. It's very important. Because without a situation that we will be seeing a lot of borders going on and parents bowing and burying the children. And Dr. Harris has put a stop to that. And I have to commend him. And we have to remember that situation here. And finally, we have to remember that in the overall situation with Dr. Douglas, Timothy Harris, Dr. Douglas didn't want Timothy Harris to be the next leader in terms of people who surround Dr. Douglas telling him, no, don't move. But in the end, what was supposed to be actually happened. Because we actually had that in plan. And other people in the Labour Party had that in plan that Dr. Harris should succeed Dr. Douglas. But some people is too greedy, you know. And being greedy just cost the leadership of some people. And Dr. Douglas has paid the price for that situation. It's not Dr. Douglas' fault. If he had transformed and make the situation more easy for the transformation in going forward, everybody would have been good. And all of them would have been under the same leadership. Everybody, you know. But at the same time, some people is too greedy. So, as I tell you, congratulations again to the Prime Minister, and I think we can work to see if we could go forward and see if we could be there for the next term. So it's something to work out that at least the person he handing it over to is the right person. Have a good night.
Good night, my brother. We go straight back to the lines. Yeah. Call your line.
Okay, Patrice, thank you very much. This is my last do. Patrice, we're talking about leadership. I could remember, let me see, 1, 2, 3 years ago. Not completely 3 years, but around there. A big critique. As a matter of fact, Crazy Gunnell come on a radio program, and he praised up Dr. Harris as the best leader in the world. And that is Tiger Flower who did that, who said that. Because Tiger Flower went to England for some medical treatment. And when Tiger Flower ready to come back to St. Kitts, he wanted to go to Dubai. And his wife could not go because she never had the correct documents to travel there. And he said he remembered that Dr. Harris, the Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, was in England at the same time. And he called Dr. Harris and he explained his problem to Dr. Harris. And Dr. Harris told him, okay, hold on, I'll get to you later. And Dr. Harris did what he could have done with the authority of his power, or the power of his authority. And he get things straightened out. And the good leadership in Dr. Harris called him and tell him, okay, everything has been worked out, you can travel now, your wife can go to Dubai. And he broke down the radio station, praising up Dr. Harris. And now, all because he said on the radio he wanted to be Minister of Finance to teach the government how to spend money. He ain't get it work. Because that can't work so. All of a sudden now Dr. Harris is the worst leader in the world. And he gonna do everything to bring down Dr. Harris. But ungratefulness, it is not biblical. But it's a proverb from the older folks. Ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft. And you know why they put it that way? Because instead of some people look to God for help to take them out of that, they look to witchcraft. And they put witchcraft higher than God. So that's why the old thing said that ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft. So let us see good leadership with Dr. Harris. Good leadership. But yes, I agree with my partner from the village, you know. I agree with him. This one topic thing ain't gonna work because we got a lot of things to let go. And we got to walk on a straight line because of the topic. We got to respect it. And I am one who's going to respect it. And if I can't get to Lego and the other thing that needs to be spoken of, well then I will just make one talk and done with it. Because some people come on tonight and they digress. And later on, you're going to have a caller who comes in at the last 7 minutes and take up the whole thing. And that is more than 2 minutes and a half. And they're going to digress. Anyway, Patrice, good night. I have said enough. Good night, Massive. Good night, Dr. Elvis. You never hear me. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well for your guidance. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Hear my radical show. Patrice, good night.
Jam down.
Patrice, you know we don't get leadership like this here overnight. You got to wait all 60 and 100 years for it. You know that. Oh, you know that. But out of Simmons, this is the best thing I ever see.
From 1981, Simmons take up this country, 80. To 95, Simmons build a middle class. And simple, that is what Timothy is doing. Timothy is a little more versed and Dr. Simmons when he comes to finance. And he could shift them and the board because he understands finance and he understands government. It hurt me hard to go against him because this is the kind of leadership me preaching for years from Simmons. We learn a vagabond this country for 20 years and look what the man do. Instead the man try to push with people along down and Port Center, the man go down there giving very country. He and his friend. He wants to when St. Martin will bring the people them up here to be out there. I told you already, you know. I was in a room down in Port Center and hear some Indians talking. I saw we may have rock tape. Patches, I want to think it's people, you know. Open your eyes, but I'm telling some of them in government and out of government and behind the People's Action Movement. Let me show you something, you know. I ain't going to decide poor people's destiny. The people will have the last say when it comes to leadership in this country. Because me jam down, ain't going to play careless. Out of Simmons in 1995, I hear a man tell some lies on the man here, and it's the same counter-attack they're trying to come at him with. And they don't work, you know, because the campaign is start. I'm taking notes. And I know radical culture and Jacqueline taking notes because we ain't going to gesture, we ain't going to back down. For what I see them do to you, Patches, and Dr. Harris, I will never hold my peace in this country. I can sound the client call because thinkers ain't going back down the road with vagabond government, prime ministers. We want people who could take it to the another level. And the guy is doing that. I'm not going against him easy. I'm not going to go against him. But you see, I tell you, I'm not going against Dr. Harris. This is the leadership the country wants. We just about to come out of pandemic. And all kind of people, they're been greediness where Douglas bring to this country. Greediness Douglas bring to this country. He turn the people prostitute. He turn us robbing prostitute, greedy prostitute. This is what he's been to we country for 20 years. And a lot of people in the country, people who I had in the way. Man, they just greedy. If you hear them, it's like everybody want the government to give them. And they want to do nothing for the government. They will even come out and sweep in front of them. But Timothy, you be strong, you know, because jam long in your car, no. Jam long in your car, no. And I know, if it's 2,000 votes, me to be you, I could talk for 2,000 votes for you. Because you're doing well, and I know I got crowd to talk to poor people that you could continue doing the job. Because this is the job we want. Me ain't make no mistake. No more I think it's vagabond politicians. Have a good night, Patches. I will be back.
Have a good night, my dear brother. Always assertive, always to the point, quoting jam down. The vagabond politics are outdated. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Thank you for holding.
Good night, sir, Honorable.
Good night, sir.
Good. So far, I am pleased with leadership. So far, I'm very, very pleased with leadership. But, listening to the current world news, I would like to say that Mr. Prime Minister Harris should be very much mindful as to whom he's setting up diplomatic ties with. I definitely would like him to take a very, very close look at that. As to whom he's
That's all, caller?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Any particular nation you're unhappy with?
No, well, I wouldn't really pinpoint any particular nation really, but
be careful.
No, I wouldn't like to call any names, but just look carefully to see. Look carefully to see. He's setting up diplomatic ties with. Got me?
Got you. Loud and clear,
right.
My brother.
Right. Be very much mindful of that. Be very much mindful of that. From what I'm hearing on the world news. I wouldn't call any names. Leadership would know. As a good leader.
Back to the lines. Caller, you alive. Yes, caller.
Greetings, Mr. Ian Patches Liburd. And how are you, brother?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
I'm very, very good. Listening to your sweet topic. Not sweetened with no sugar, but with honey. Very touching. And I must say, the Bible man input, his spiritual word, is very sensitive to the program. And it's good when there is a host hosting a program and someone can come in with spiritual words and the host himself can collaborate with those spiritual words. So that is very good. Your topic, leadership, Mr. Patches, very touching. The caller earlier who talked about one topic, if you didn't have the topic tonight, we would not hear the input that he made. So sometimes we want the cake and we want to eat it. So stick to the topics. It brings out a section of your people. We say we are educational society. Let's hear what we say on topics, Mr. Patches. Leadership. You talk about popular leaders tonight. You mentioned Dr. Simmons, Dr. Douglas, and our present Prime Minister, Dr. Harris. And it boils down to one thing: the governance of the country, the management of the economy. The leader is marked out by his individual craftsmanship, his sensibility and insight, his initiative and energy. Leaders are people who raise a standard by which to judge themselves and by which they are willing to be judged. Our country, we said before, was going down a dark road. And look at the three leaders who you posted tonight as popular. And look at the works that have committed in the country. Yes, all of them did well, but bad or shallow. Some do well, but some of them do. Dr. Timothy Shaw is more people-centric. In this sense, you have calling programs and people utter what they have to utter. And the politicians and the leadership listens. It's good when you have political leaders who listen to the people. And why is the unity administration continue to reform the system? That's what people want to see. That's why they glory when Dr. Simmons' NRP was reconstructing the country. That's what citizens like to see things happen. They don't like to see people dragging the foot with policies, And you see, as though now, the administration is awakening to some of the problems they might have having. So you start to feel a pulse. You begin to feel a pulse at the administration to perform. because they what it need. You talk tonight about the press conference when the Prime Minister having his press conferences, and it's a fact. He dedicate the ministers to make the input that the questions that is asked on the public. That is good leadership. You know, you don't show dominance. You know, you show where you have balance and people can listen and hear what's going on. It don't come from one side. Who would believe that St. Kitts could have hold its own under a pandemic? There is something we have to be thankful, and the Lord show His love and guide us. We can't be ungrateful to those things. We see St. Kitts can issue stimulus package to its people. We can't turn a blind eye to these things. It's about managing the economy. The same country, the same St. Kitts and Nevis. You find St. Kitts and Nevis went on the IMF program by one of the leaders. And you find the two other leaders didn't have the courtesy to carry people through that. So it's everything about management. We can't turn a blind eye to those things. When people can show that they have their month pay every month, pensioners can be sure they have their pension every month. You can't turn a blind eye to those things. Those things are blessings. Management. If you don't have management handling your economy, you cannot have prosperity. If you do not have peace, you cannot have development. And those are the signs of good leadership. Mr. Patches, you continue to be strong and continue to enlighten the people and stay safe. God bless.
Thank you. God bless. Thanks for your input as well. I am very proud of the leadership of the Right Honorable His Excellency Sir Kennedy Alphonse Simmons, one of the greatest of our leaders, St. Kitts and his achievement for the 15 years that cannot be undone and still lives in our heart and minds. Things that are still relevant today. No PAM, no unity. Some of them can't even convince not even a fly to vote. Talk is very cheap, very cheap. You can't even give them a flyer to go out there and tell them, convince anyone really see this Facebook comment. Emmanuel writes, people must be mindful of using words, example, dictator, without knowing the definition of this word. Robert Llewellyn Bratcher was not a dictator because he did not make decisions with absolute authority without the legislature or House of Assembly. Is this other message? Thank you for holding, caller. It's 19 before 10. I go back to the lines. You're live.
And good evening, everybody out there in Radio Land, and good evening, Mr. Ambassador, my friend, Servant Patches Liburd. How are you this evening?
I am peaceful, my brother. Can I guide you by the rules of brevity?
That you may, and I will abide thus.
Thank you.
Now, after burying a classmate today, your legacy to me is all the more precious and important. Thanks for a life well lived. You definitely are a positive inspiration. But you know that you have just told us, or we have just been informed by Mr. Graham, that we will essentially again see yet another miscarriage of justice. In the case of Mr. Grant, it's called passing the buck. You know how that goes. But I'm guided by the rules of brevity, so I would just say good leadership. Dr. Douglas, Dr. Simmons, and Mugabe have one thing in common. They were all great leaders. but every one of them stayed too long. You must agree with me. Thus hastening along downward spiral. You were here. Had they quit in our country at the 10-year mark, they all would have walked away with their legacy intact. Do you agree? I'm hastening on. You would answer me after that. Hence, I'm suggesting that a new paradigm must be established. It is not for you, it's for the populace. The populace must purpose in their hearts. 10 years, and then you go. You could strut yourself on the national and world stage for 1 decade, then pass the baton to another. It's a relay race and not a sprint. And no party or person has the monopoly on strategy, wisdom, intelligence, management, skills, or whatever the criteria for good leadership might be. In team unity, I can assure you, there will be no right of succession, because those in the wings waiting for advancement have all proven themselves unfit for the job. The Honorable Sean Richards, he will get nowhere until an honest and thorough accounting is given for that sizable chunk of money that disappeared without a trace under his watch from his portfolio. The difference between a hut and a house in financial terms is quite substantial. Who pocketed the difference? And as to Mr. Grant, how dare you openly demean, insult, and publicly humiliate those noble law enforcement officials who hold the peace that we enjoy in their hands. Should he, I'm telling you, Mr. Ambassador, or any of his party compatriots rise, tyranny would result. The whole corrupt cabal must ignominiously dissolve so that a political alternative under the leadership of Dr. Drew might evolve. I know that this is not something that you want to hear, but in closing, it's a warning, and I like to think it's a divine warning, Mr. Ambassador. During such time of transition, I love you. Get your house in order. Luke 16:9 applies. It says, make friends of unrighteous mammon, so that when you fail, they will receive you into eternal habitation. The friend I buried today, according to Lennox Liburd, Creighton Pension, and others, guess what was appointment for Pam for years when Pam was in the political hospital and wilderness. And yet, our constituency representative today in attendance, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, had absolutely nothing, and he knows why, to contribute to this sober occasion in a few short years. His just recompense will come. Keep on taking care of yourself, and not that only, take care of your soul. None of us, except through our deeds, will live forever. Good evening, folks.
Good evening. Good evening, my brother. Thank you. I think I heard this in Luke 59, not the cert, but let's go back to the lines. Caller, thank you for holding your line.
Patrick, you know what I like to see? When the sugar industry closed, that Dr. Harris was the leader of this country at that time. I believe that this country will be successfully farming and raising animals, livestock, fishing, and all those things. Because Kitishans are very hard working people. Kitishans are not beggars. And anybody wants to bring down this team unity government and bring down Dr. Harris because of whatever. Nobody perfect, matches. No one is perfect. No government is perfect. You got government got problems all over the whole world. They might got a little problem with this and that there. Nobody murder, nobody do nobody nothing. Look at the crime. You understand? But some of them, they don't want to work hard. They want to depend on government and get this and get that. And it's just that Kitishans and Liburd are independent people, like work hard for themselves. And I do not think that the majority Kitishans and Liburd can destroy this unity government, try to destroy this unity government we are here. Because this government is doing well. And patches, if they destroy it, whoever in cabinet with the Prime Minister they want to destroy it, well, we Kitishans, we know where to go. We know where to turn to. Because you always say leadership matters. In any part of the world, leadership matters. And nothing could go on like before happened on the farm administration. A lot of building up and downtown, a ton mass now, but all kind of pick on them because of corruption. Walk up the hill level farm, you see one of them, you will in something or you mark up. Because of corruption, because they can't touch the money now to maintain them. They cannot touch the money now to maintain them because they're not corruption. There was bad leadership. They was bringing the country to whatever think we have to be. See, we're not under the IMF. And we had a civil program was going so well and doing so well. And we still not end up in the IMF fund. See, Dr. Harris coming as the leader, went one time to pay off the IMF, fix road, do all kind of things, people also as a leader, $500 a month for the ordinary man in this country. Up to 2 years ago, I had a conversation with a gentleman. He just think about poor people and things. I said, think it none poor people. We don't have nobody here poor. Who wants to poor? Who wants to stay poor? I said, look at you got 2 guineas in your drink of poor. 2 guineas in hand, and I send a give my next one. Such as, let God bless this federation of Think It Nevis. Let God bless this leader we have. And all those who trying to destroy Dr. Harris and the leadership of the country. You know, can we do that? None of poor people. I come and talk about this and that, both that. Anybody study? I may tell you the second farm party. You know the farm party? Farm party, well. But yeah, I got to be real. Oh, my Bible not be Bible about I got to be real, brother. I bring my own country. I want to not be the poverty. You know, you gun, you got shooting what's going on. You know what shooting what's going on, patches. That time bring that to us. Yeah, the cabinet bring that to us. The work out things. The man from Jamaica. They criticize himself, collecting money, man. The man is just still working to bring down the crime in this country. As the lady said, that she could sleep with you up now. That is like watching anyone of them have been it on right now. Because this thing ain't going on now. Because of the brilliant thinking at that house in the cabinet. That is again, we have a wonderful again, God, the Federation of Peace. They cannot get you with us. We're here to put this country together and put unity together as one. And if they want unity, well, we go in different places. That is again, God bless again.
God bless you, my brother. Let's go straight back to the lines. Call it line.
Good evening, Honorable Patrick Liburd. I in my experience around politics, and I've been around politics for a long time, there is nobody was treated worse than you. Okay? Nobody in politics was treated worse than you. You come in as a poor, innocent boy from Fishbend town. And people never looking for the kind of talent that you had. And you show it, you prove it, and you act it. And because you never sit down on a corner and drink rum with them, and you're busy doing your work, they hate you for that. They're never thinking about what you do all around the country for everybody. Everybody. And your colleagues, and them who you run for, they betray you. They was like Judas towards you. You know, you won one election, you lose one. And the second one, the one what you lose, you know, fit to be in the party no more. And they form all kind of things to make sure they get you out. They went to bring people all in wheelchair, people in hospital bed, up to the school and up to the clinic up there, just to make sure you was removed from your position up there. But Patches, you're a strong man. And your son, before he died, he told you, Daddy, be strong. And you're strong. Because many of them will to be up and down. And from in the crazy roads, down on the bay walking, down in the square walking, down all over the place walking. But you show your manhood and your protection what you had from the Lord Almighty, because you go to church every day. You don't sleep on the Bible. You go to church every day, and you had the blessing of the Prime Minister of this beloved country of ours. You understand me? And the Prime Minister, he don't swear on the kids in the Bible and swear on the Bible, unless he was swearing him into office, and the same thing with you. But he do what he do, was to protect the poor people of St. Kitts and Nevis and make sure the economy go in the right direction, and he's still doing it. He's still doing it. But Patches, just be strong as the son said. A time will come, and it won't be long. A couple more years from now. Okay. God bless you, sir. Good night.
Good night, Rockefeller. God bless you as well. Thanks for the kind words and support. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Mr. Patches?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The Bible man. The Bible man.
Mr. Patches, I believe in God. You hear me? And nobody can really turn me back from that day. Patches, it's God who ruled the whole universe. I tell a man last week, this week, yeah. No, you rule the whole universe of God. Mr. Patches, John James, the Bible man, love you. And I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Patches. I ain't going to talk too long. Do you know what you do to me that people think about it very seriously? You left Basti and you come to Tabernacle. And you know, my neighbor tell me about that there. He honor it. And so, Mr. Patches, it is God have you to whisper to me. And I'm going to tell you something now. The Bible says, blessed is the man that considereth the poor, Mr. Patches. In the time of trouble, people don't want to hear the word of God, eh? But me telling you, I'm a real Bible man. I've been born again in the precious word, so I understand what the Bible been saying. Mr. Patches, in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9, you can read it for you. We look at it at spare time. He said, the heart are deceitful and desperate, wicked man heart. There was a lot of other things we could come tonight and call about, but that's because of time. Mr. Patrick, people, why they're not born again? God, the Bible says, in righteousness, while you is born again, you can speak righteousness, you can make peace, and you don't want you in the honor. And I can tell you something. Patrick, please, I beg you, give God all. Give God your all, Mr. Patrick. I'm begging you. John James tonight come and he read, I'm straight talk to tell you, give God all. Because God has done great things for you. Patrick, the thing you that go crazy. But God, in his mighty, keep you up. So you have to give God thanks and praise. You see why you're there today? And God put you there. No man. Man is deceitful. And Pastor John James is saying to you tonight, give God the all. Oh, give thanks and Pastor. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord for his good. His mercy endure forever. Okay? So see you. Take care of yourself, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you, my brother John. We go back to the lines. We'll take a few more calls before I wrap. Caller, you're live.
Patches, this is the Major.
How are you, sir?
I'm happy, man. I'm happy. What I tell you all the time is that the program is very good. But I tell you already, raise the standard. Raise the standards. I mean, plenty of people want to say something. Oh, okay, you speak about leadership. Richard, but what I don't like much of what you said is what makes a good political leader. I will say, if I had to say, I will say, what makes a leader a good leader? And here I'm going to give you some characteristics about that. A good leader, he has to be loyal, Patches. He has to be energetic, Patches. He has to be alert. He has to be dominant and dedicated. He has to be energetic. He has to be resourceful. He has to be steadfast, honest, intelligent, and progressive. We must remember the fall of man, you know. Remember the fall of man, and all God said, I will give you light, and there will be light. I know that you're a Sunday school teacher like me, but leadership, and to be a leader, you must be clear, loud, and positive. You understand what I'm saying to you? Have a good day, have a good night, and sleep good. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Major. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Very, very briefly. Very, very briefly. I was just laughing as I was listening. And I heard Jam Down talking. Major seems to know what's happening. I want to thank him for coming this afternoon and giving such a splendid oration on behalf of my classmate. But very, very briefly, and it's going to take a minute or less, I promise you, your plight is tantamount to what happened between McCain and Trump. You would be familiar with it, won't you? Trump mocked McCain mercilessly, even denigrating his status of national hero. After he, McCain, was imprisoned and tortured in a Vietnam camp. Hear him. Hi, I love my heroes who don't get captured. What an unforgivable insult. But guess what? Trump's greatest ambition was to overturn Obamacare, a balm for poor people. One vote needed to pass it. deadlock. Trump is a Republican, so is McCain. But McCain got up off of his deathbed to defeat Trump's misguided ambitions. And today, Obamacare remains in existence. Similarly, they thought they executed you. I know. In just a while, they're going to be mourning the fact that the corpse got up and walked. Good evening, folks.
Good evening, my brother. I'll take 2 more calls. And before I wrap, caller, I'll make you my penultimate call.
Good evening, Alabama Patterns Megan. Looking at healthcare, right? When you work for a firm, you're supposed to get insurance that in case you're sick, you got insurance to claim on. Because some people ain't got no insurance. So how they going to pay the hospital, how they going to pay whatsoever. And looking at the hospital, this machine, they say, must be $400 if you ain't got no insurance, and $800 if you got insurance. So looking at us, we need the factory them and stuff to get insurance for us, because they cover their own self, you know, but we know we're working and we ain't got no cover insurance. So then you all need to put a policy at the thing them, the factory them, to get insurance, because them themselves got insurance for them and their family. So we need insurance for we took the world going, the money, we have the money to pay for the dialysis machine and everything. So you all got to get your facts together for good government. See you, take care.
Thank you very much. I'll take this and make this my final call for the night. Call you live.
Okay, let somebody else get it, because I did come say something about people who died with. Let somebody.
Okay, let's take this, make this my final call for the night. Caller.
Yes, thank you, Culture. And thank you, Major. Just what Major tell you, Patches, is what Timothy Sylvester Harris displaying in this country. And me jam don't ain't gonna let that go again, like what happened in 95 in this country. No vagabonds gonna go around Bastille and chatting nonsense and feel they could convince, because thinking people, some of us very naive, and they feel because they Mr. this and Mr. that, they're gonna listen to them. It ain't gonna work, you know. It's not gonna work. That is, I wanna talk about something. It's hurting me. A young man down on the port who been carrying a service for a lot of years and doing this country well. And out of the pandemic, he seems to deny pushing a corner. I want to ask the government institution on Church Street to please give this guy some assistance. We need the people them to down and present making money, you know. We need the people to down and present to making money. The money just can't go in foreign hands like how this vagabond boy project it. It's not going to work with jam down, you know. Please to help the young man with the cat. Please. And a lot of them stressing and the policeman. The policeman them get loan and they pay the loan. But I get loan and they won't pay. I don't want to pay back the government money. And the policeman them paying back the government for the investment. So I tax off for the people them, man. Because if he never saw good thinking and agileness, and a prime minister, very thoughtful, and could execute according to Major, all that lead up to good leadership. That is what the guy is displaying. If he never for that, for he, man, we just see this country rolling like a car wheel. And ain't going to begin. It's not going to begin. Touches between your tongue and Irish tongue, you know. I talk with a lot of men who work on steamer. and quoted us, you know. Some of them, they're unable now, but they like to hear me on the radio. And I'm trying to visit them. God bless them like a mackerel where you used to mash up around the port where you used to let me go home and go feed them. Give them the 2 pound and the half pound and the two saltfish and 2 mackerel. You understand? God bless them days. And I could tell you, as you accept, you ain't get to fear. Patches, be strong here. And before you go, tonight, play that tape with your son. Be strong. Have a good night. A calling on the institution in the government, in Church Street to help that young man down and put Zanta with the cat. Let him make money, man. He been there before. We're not gonna let the test who I work for this thing come and deny these people. We're not gonna. They ain't gonna work with me, you know. And I hope the Prime Minister listening to me, you know. Because I've been watching that from this time we get out of the pandemic. That poor man just pushing a corner. And he was providing. You could imagine people who are customer the guy coming in these schools asking for the guy's service to move these old people back and forth. All down by rock. Is the little cat making the money? They feel like I'm a millionaire in 3 weeks. We're going to see how we go. Have a good night, Patches. You take care.
Have a good night.
Man, I want me peace in this country, you know. Not me, you know. Once one thing going on, you know.
With the passionate, assertive voice and intervention from Jamdown. And we discuss, for those who may have joined us lately, we discuss the issue of leadership, to wit, political leadership. And we made the point earlier that there's a plethora, there's an oversupply of ambitious political leaders around the world. But sadly, very few demonstrate the traits of good leadership, you know. In St. Kitts and Nevis here, we have perfected the art of what I call leadership politics, going back from Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, coming up to Kennedy Simmons, Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Llewellyn Douglas, and as we have right now, the Honorable Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris. And just for that lady, I call her my labor friend, I do believe, I trust this is the soundbite they have. And just to clarify that, and it was good to hear you, and your telephone came through very clear. But just to clarify, I hope this is the right soundbite in terms of the cost reduction for those fees at the hospital. I trust and hope this is the right soundbite.
I am pleased to report that the cost of treatment of hemodialysis and oncology patients has been reduced by a significant 50% effective February 1st, 2022. In real terms, the cost of hemodialysis treatment has been reduced from $800 to $400 per session. This is a massive saving in any language. Those who are uninsured will benefit from a 50% reduction on the portion of the cost of the treatment not covered by insurance. In other words, this massive saving is really intended for the uninsured. We appreciate that some persons are financially vulnerable, may have insurance, but the insurance does not cover the full cost. And we are saying that on that portion of the cost not covered, the 50% will apply.
Yes, so that's a clarification for that comment made in relation to the cost of certain services at the JN France Hospital. But we did conclude that that political leadership requires a leader to focus on a country's long-term betterment above and beyond any short-term political gains. I also opine that we do have a partyless democracy in St. Kitts. By that I mean our politics is less about the party and more about leadership. And the sooner those in politics understand that, the better it is for them. Because there is a decreasing importance for partisanship whenever you see that structure, or whenever we start structuring the choice of every voter in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we have concluded that what makes a good political leader is exemplified in our current leader, Timothy Harris. The question you asked, do you change a good leader? But a person with good political leadership skills will prove to be a successful leader who can easily distinguish between success and failure. A good communicator must have honesty and integrity. Honesty and integrity are two main elements that make for a strong, good leader. How do you demand integrity from your supporters if you yourself neglect such qualities? A decision maker, look at COVID. Look at what and how our current leader handled a pandemic, one that had no template, one we have not seen in 100 years, one that brought the entire world to a screeching halt. And our leader made the right decisions at the right time. A good leader must inspire others. And perhaps the toughest thing a leader has to do or can do is convince people to follow them. But when that is done, you have to convince the people who to follow as well. My Straight Talk family, we spoke to delegation of tasks or effectively delegate tasks. And we see that, as I mentioned earlier, at press conferences where the Prime Minister delegates a response to his relevant leader. A good leader must be a man of vision and purpose. As influential leaders have intent and vision, not only can they imagine the future, but they also express their dreams with their supporters. A political leader's first goal should be representing one's government and not representing himself or herself. And my Straight Talk family, I've heard so many Bible verses advance this evening, and I'm tempted to read one verse from Jeremiah 17. And it reads, "Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is." That's the way we're going to end it, my Straight Talk family, because my time is done and I've got to run. Don't you move your dial, because the mayor of St. Paul's, Theophilus Theo Clark, is in the house with his oldie goldie vinyl records. He scratches them not, but he plays those good songs. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, And as always, I want to thank you, the many people who listen, those of you on social media, Facebook and on YouTube. Remember to share the link with your friends, your family, with everyone, so we can get back that straight talk following on social media. It's now being on Ian Patch's Facebook feed. And for those who call, those who just listen to the national radio station, the Big Bad 96.1 FM Radio ZIZ. Without you, there's no straight talk. And for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. Don't forget, at Jasmine's, I lost that menu for tomorrow. But breakfast starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. I noticed she has put pork back on the menu. That's good. Except she has no pork with here because Boy Blue is not doing well. Only Boy Blue can do that. Notwithstanding that, remember, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. Remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But you first got to believe. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend, my sweet dog family. And remember, when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you to the night. And keep moving on until we connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. Bye-bye, my sweet dog family. Keep moving on.
The views and opinions expressed by the host or presenter and by participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions of ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation, its shareholder, or its affiliates. The opinions of the on-air guests or participants are based upon information they consider reliable, but neither ZBC nor its shareholder nor its affiliates warrant their completeness or accuracy, and they should not be relied upon as such.
That I will achieve, you better believe. I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on.